Hey everyone, so this is going to be a completely free tutorial on how you can use DeepSeek, which is a super powerful AI tool very similar to ChatGPT. I guarantee you, if you watch this video from start to finish, you'll become an expert user. We'll be going over 15 extremely powerful prompts and use cases that you can use today, and I guarantee you're going to be blown away by it. Now, this is what I recommend doing. Watch along, but as you watch, also do the things that I'm doing. Enter in these prompts with me, actually use the platform, and that is going to be the best way to learn. At the end of this video, I'll also go over some of the more advanced ways you can use DeepSeek, such as installing it on your computer locally, using the DeepSeek model on other platforms, or even the API functionality, but most of you watching this video don't need to know that stuff. Anyways, let's get started. So if you go to deepseek.com, it's gonna look something like this, and what you'll do is just click on Start Now. You can of course learn more about DeepSeek and the current models, and yeah, depending on when you're watching this video, they might be a little bit different, but yeah, for now I'm gonna go to Start Now. So now it's gonna have you log in, and if you don't have an account, there are two options. You can log in using your Google account, although I do not recommend doing that, or you can go the traditional phone number / email route with a password. That's what I recommend. And if you want to create an account, just click on sign up right here. You're going to enter in your email, your password, confirm your password. It's going to send you a code to your email address. You'll enter in that code here, click on this to confirm, and then click on sign up. This is basically all you need to do to be able to use DeepSeek. So now I'm in the dashboard of DeepSeek. This is what you'll see when you create your account. Over here, I'll have my chat history. So it's very similar to ChatGPT. I can create a new chat whenever I want. This helps you separate different conversations, which is really useful. And this is the main search area of DeepSeek right here. And yeah, this is where you input your messages. Now, really quickly, let's go over some of the pros and cons when it comes to DeepSeek versus ChatGPT. The first thing is that DeepSeek is way more affordable. In fact, it's completely free to use right now. And the current performance of the DeepThink R1 model is very similar to the O1 model for ChatGPT, which as of right now is about $200 per month to use. Now, of course, this may be free in the future. But as of right now, DeepSeek is free. The API costs are also a lot lower, and you get that really crazy performance that usually costs money with ChatGPT. It's also open source, so you can actually download this model to your computer and run it without using the web. There's also a lot of transparency because when you search something, which I'll show you later on, it actually shows you its thought process. So you can see exactly what it is trying to brainstorm or reason. And also with DeepSeek, there's no need for prompt engineering. You basically don't need to give it as much context as ChatGPT, so that can actually make it quite a bit easier to use. Now, the cons are they use your info to train it, and there's no way of getting out of this. Also, the servers are in China, and there is some stuff that it will not answer for you. So just some small things to be aware of. Now, back to our main dashboard, I'm going to show you guys 15 different use cases for DeepSeek. It is quite similar to ChatGPT, and I do have a very popular tutorial on ChatGPT. So if you do want to check that out, I will have a link to it down below. But again, DeepSeek has more reasoning capabilities as of right now, and so there definitely are some big advantages. Now, you'll note that there are two buttons here. So there's this DeepThink R1 button, and there is this search button. So if we want to use the actual R1 reasoning model, we will have to click on this. It's going to activate it, and when we submit a message, it's going to know to use this reasoning model. We can also toggle on and off this search functionality, so it can search the web when necessary. That's very useful for things that require the web. Both can be on, both can be off. You can have one on or one off, but for now, I'm just going to leave DeepThink on. So the first use case you can use DeepSeek for is writing emails. This is something that applies to almost everyone, right? We all write emails every single day, and DeepSeek can make this process a whole lot more efficient. So for example, I can write something like, write a professional email to a client explaining a delay in project delivery. We can of course give it way more context in this prompt, but just to show you guys, I want to actually just do a general one like this. I'll click this button right here. It's going to start thinking, so it's going to show its thought process. And when you do use the R1 model, it's going to take a lot longer than you're probably used to if you've used ChatGPT. There's a whole process to this reasoning model, and as you can see, it gets pretty complicated. And after that is done, it's going to output this sample email. We can copy and paste this to Gmail or whatever email provider you use. Replace this, right? We can even include that in the prompt itself so that it will automatically put that in there. And it's going to write you a pretty solid email. Of course, I do recommend, putting your final touches on it, making it a little bit more personable if needed. But yeah, a very useful use case and prompt that almost everyone can use right now. You can even use a platform like Make AI to integrate with DeepSeek. That's a bit more complicated, but basically you can have this done for you automatically when you receive an email. It can create a draft, it can send the message by itself. There are a lot of things you can customize with a platform like Make, but for most people, this is going to be enough. We can of course give it feedback by just messaging and telling it to rewrite this email with blank or blank, and it's going to spit something out that's new. So the next use case we'll talk about is actually using DeepSeek to help with your content creation process. Now, content creation is obviously a pretty broad and general term. It could be making blog posts, it could be social media posts, long form YouTube, short form YouTube, it could be writing TikTok scripts, it could be doing ads, whatever it is. DeepSeek is just like ChatGPT in that it can actually generate, let's say blog posts for us just using a prompt. And it's quite good at it because it does have this reasoning model. If you're using DeepSeek, you can always create a new chat so that you can have different separate chats going on. I'm just gonna do it all in one just to make it a little bit easier. But you can write something like, write a 300-word blog post about the benefits of remote work. We can, of course, give it more direction if we want, but I'm just gonna show you guys real quick. As it's outputting this response, I do wanna say that the more information, the more context you give the prompt, the better the output is gonna be, and the less editing you probably have to do. All right, so it's done creating this article for us. Of course, I don't recommend just copying and pasting this into your website. That's not the best way to do it. You definitely do want to edit AI-generated articles, but this is a great foundation. It actually saves us a ton of time in the research phase as well as the writing phase. You can see it gives us a little brief on what it wrote us. So word count was 300. It gives us the tone, and it gives us some SEO keywords as well. So if I were to use this on a website, I would just literally create a website using AI with something like Hostinger. It's like $3 or $4 per month. You can build a complete website in under 10 minutes, and then you can directly use something like DeepSeek to help you write, and that should save you a ton of time building your whole website. Yeah, AI is just crazy. It extends way beyond just DeepSeek and ChatGPT. There's so many tools that use AI to make other tasks easier, such as in this example, building a website. So yeah, highly recommend using AI to just save a lot of time. You can do the same thing, of course, with content creation. Beyond just making a blog post, you can also create short form scripts. For example, we can do something like create a 15-second script for an Instagram reel that talks about the benefits of remote work, have an engaging hook, and a clear call to action to book a call. So let's see what it does here. If you don't need that deep thinking model, you can of course turn this off. It's gonna spit out an answer a lot faster. Not every single thing you search needs this model. So yeah, just keep that in mind. You can see the thinking for this particular prompt is taking a long time. I also really like just looking through the reasoning because it's very interesting to see how the AI thinks, and it actually helps me be a better thinker myself. Cool, so it's done. It's given us a pretty solid Instagram reel script. And yeah, that's just a very useful use case that you can use DeepSeek for. The next use case I want to talk about is learning new topics using DeepSeek. I personally think that learning is one of the most important things that everyone should be doing every single day. So you can basically use DeepSeek like a tutor, a mentor, basically a really smart person that knows everything. And so what I'm going to do right here is click on this search button. This allows it to actually search the internet, which can be helpful. We can search something like explain quantum computing in simple terms. I don't even know what this is, so let's go ahead and search that. So here's the output after its reasoning. You can see it defines it. It actually compares it to something you might know. It talks about some other concepts, why it's a big deal, and it also summarizes it for us in a pretty easy to understand way. So yeah, any type of concept you don't know, you can absolutely just use DeepSeek, learn about it, and you won't have to go to Google, search the thing and browse through a bunch of different websites looking for information. This is going to compile all of it for you and basically turn it into a summary that will save you a lot of time. I do this a lot with ChatGPT. I'm always constantly asking it questions. If I want more reasoning behind the answer, I like to use DeepSeek now since it does have a better thinking and reasoning model. Yeah, very helpful use case, and I highly recommend using it to learn things. Okay, so the next use case is actually using DeepSeek to help with coding. DeepSeek is extremely great at coding because it's very analytical. It has a lot of reasoning, so you can give it feedback, it can adjust the code. It basically is a very powerful computer programmer. So for example, we can say write a Python function to calculate the Fibonacci sequence. If this is something that you actually want to code yourself, you can input it into DeepSeek, look at the thinking, because it actually is a tutor that teaches you exactly what it's doing, and that really helps you learn the whole process a lot better. You can see again and again, it is giving an answer, it's checking itself, so it's verifying and trying to come up with a better solution, and just keeps doing that until it comes up with something that it's happy with. Cool, so now it's generated a Python function to generate what we asked it to. We can basically click on copy right here. It's going to copy the code. It's going to show you how it works. Of course, it can generate HTML, JavaScript, any other language. You can actually code games using DeepSeek. Very powerful and really good reasoning and thinking. So if if this is something that you do on a daily basis, then yeah, DeepSeek can be a great tool that saves you a ton of time. Okay, so the next use case is actually using DeepSeek to help you write your resume or cover letter. I think this is something that a lot of people could use if you're in the job market or you're trying to potentially find a new job. This can actually help you a lot. So what you can write is something like, write a cover letter for a software engineer position at a tech startup. Great, so now it's generated a cover letter for us. Of course, you'll want to replace things in the brackets. It creates a really solid outline of things that we should mention in the cover letter. And so yeah, even if you don't want to use this verbatim, you can read it, get an idea of what a good cover letter looks like, and then just use that info to write your own. You can replicate this, of course, with doing a resume. It can generate a resume for you. You can input your own resume or your own cover letter into the system. To do that, all you need to do is click on this, and you do have to undo this. So you can just click on this, upload your cover letter or your resume, ask it for feedback, and it's going to give you really solid feedback. Okay, so the next use case that we can use DeepSeek for is generating quotes. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm always looking for great quotes in my content and just, in life. So a creative way to use DeepSeek is ask it something like this. I'm going to toggle on search so that I can search the web. And I'm just going to say something like, I want to be inspired to start my own business. Can you give 3 quotes from entrepreneurs that can motivate me? All right, so it's done generating the response. You can see it gave us 3 powerful quotes from entrepreneurs to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit. And for each quote, it gives us the actual quote, who said it, and it also gives us some analysis and context. Now, the really cool thing about the web search is that it actually gives you references. So as you can see, if we click on this button right here, it's going to show you where it actually found this from. So we can click on this, it's going to go directly to that source or article. We have this quote by Thomas Edison: I have not failed, I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work. Very true. This definitely helps with viewing failure as okay. It's definitely very important. Gives us the sources. And same one, this quote by Tony Hsieh of Zappos. Definitely a very, very true quote, and we can access these sources here. So the next use case we'll talk about is brainstorming. This is probably something that a lot of you watching this video do on a daily basis, and it can pretty much be applied to anything. For example, let's say something like this. I want to create a 3-course dinner for my parents. Can you help me brainstorm what to make? I'd like for it to take under 2 hours and not be too complex. My parents love steak, mushrooms, and savory foods. So yeah, I gave some context. We will leave the search function on so that I can actually browse through different recipe sites. And actually, I'm going to add in for desserts, I want something with chocolate. Okay, so the server is busy right now. I'm just gonna try again. Since everyone is trying to learn DeepSeek and use it right now, it can get overwhelming for the servers. So yeah, that does happen sometimes. So in this case, I turn off DeepThink R1 mode, and this actually allowed us to get an answer extremely fast. You can see it skipped the whole reasoning part. So this answer might not be as good, but I just want to show you guys that, yeah, if the servers are down, sometimes you can just turn that off and it should still be able to output an answer. Yeah, it's created a pretty solid 3-course dinner menu. It actually gave us instructions too, and it gave us a decadent chocolate mousse for dessert, which seems like it would taste really good. It's also funny because it gave us a timeline on when to actually do these steps. So yeah, I think that's pretty solid. But yeah, any type of brainstorming you need, just ask DeepSeek. It's gonna be able to do it for you. The next use case we'll talk about for DeepSeek is language translation. Now, language translation, of course, you can do this with Google Translate or other tools like that, but AI seems to be extremely good, especially when you pair it with this reasoning model. You typically get better translations that locals would actually say rather than just word for word direct translations. So we can say something like, translate hello, how are you into French, Spanish, and Mandarin. All right, so server's busy again. For the rest of this video, I'm just gonna turn off the DeepThink R1 mode. And you might be thinking, why should I use DeepSeek instead of ChatGPT? Well, when the server is up and it's running, having access to that reasoning model can actually give you better answers than ChatGPT, the free version. Okay, in this case, it's giving us 3 translations. These all seem to be correct. It even gives you the pronunciation, which is pretty cool. And so yeah, as you can see, you don't need to always have the reasoning mode on. Sometimes it just makes it slow for no needed purpose, but for more analytical and like critical thinking tasks, then that's when that model really helps. Beyond just translating languages, you can also use DeepSeek to learn languages, use it as like a language tutor. You can have whole conversations with it, ask it to explain different things, how locals would say this or that, when is this used more commonly. View it as a person that's extremely smart. So the next use case we'll talk about is actually using DeepSeek to summarize summarize long text and websites. So of course, with this search functionality, we can have it actually go to a website, crawl it, and actually get the information and come back. For example, I can enter in a URL and say something like this. Can you help me summarize this page in 100 words or less? So it's actually going to be able to go to that website, look at everything on that page, and then give us this concise summary. This works extremely well for very long articles that you don't want to read. It works well for complex text that is hard to understand. It can sort of summarize it and make it easier to understand for you. And if we turn off the search function, we can also, of course, input documents. So PDFs, docs, whatever it is, we can have it look at a bunch of information and summarize it or even ask it questions about it. So for example, one thing I can do, just to give you guys an example, is input a spreadsheet and ask it for a certain number. If you put in the profit and loss statement for your business, you could ask it, okay, how much money did I make between June and August of, let's say, 2024. It can really analyze that document for you. It can analyze the website. It can analyze any text and be able to answer questions that you ask it. Okay, another use case is actually using it to create study guides. Now, if you're in school or you're taking a class or whatever and you need to learn something, this is very functional. It can help you get a better score on your exams. So I can write something like, create a 500-word study guide on the most common phrases in Spanish. Of course, you can create a way longer one if you want, but just for this video, I want to show something that's a little faster. We'll turn the search function on. Go ahead and click enter. Okay, so as you can see, it's given us the most common phrases in Spanish, broken down by different categories. So we have greetings and basic courtesies. We have introducing yourself, asking for help or directions, dining and shopping, expressing feelings and opinions, common questions, as well as farewells. And it also gives us some tips for practice. What you can also do to create a study guide is input, let's say you have a spreadsheet of vocabulary that you have learned with your teacher or whatever. Input that spreadsheet and then ask it to use that spreadsheet and create a study guide, create flashcards. You can even ask it to test yourself. Really, the possibilities are endless when it comes to studying with DeepSeek. Another way you can use DeepSeek is by using it to generate business ideas. So we can say something like, give me 5 business ideas I can start that cost under $100 where I can work from my laptop. Some context, I am a great writer. All right, so it's going to search through its database as well as the web, and it's given us 5 different businesses that relate to writing. These all make a lot of sense. And yeah, if you want to start a business, but you don't really know what to do, you can give it a bunch of context and have it brainstorm these ideas for you. The next use case is actually using DeepSeek as either a therapist or a life coach. Now, of course, it's not going to fully replace the one-on-one interaction between you and a human therapist or life coach, but it's actually quite effective. I've tried it a bunch. AI can give you emotional support. It can give you advice. It can give you tips on, let's say, mindfulness, stress management, whatever it is that you need help with. We can write something like, I'm feeling lost in life and want to quit my 9-to-5. Can you give me some advice on how I can manage my stress and the first steps I can take? Cool, so it gave us a pretty solid answer. What you can do is continue the conversation by asking a follow-up question. You can tell it to clarify certain things. You can give the AI more context and just continue the conversation like that. But yeah, I think this is a use case that not a lot of people think is actually possible, but I'll tell you this, it is actually very effective. And yeah, therapy is expensive, life coaches are expensive. If you don't have the resources to actually, get that type of help, you can absolutely use something like this as a first step. The next use case for DeepSeek is that you can use it to role play. And what I mean by this is, let's say, for example, you want to learn a language. This is something we sort of talked about already. You can have it be a native, let's say, French speaker, give it the context of you being a student at this level and have it test you. So you can role play, have a whole conversation with it, and basically treat it as like a tutor. Another way to use the role playing feature is, let's say you want to practice doing an interview. We can write something like, let's role play a job interview for a data analyst position. You act as the interviewer and ask me 3 questions. Now I can use DeepSeek to train myself to perform better or have a better interview when the actual time comes. Okay, so it's saying, can you walk me through a recent project where you used data analysis to solve a problem? What tools and techniques did you use and what was the outcome? Of course, I don't know anything about this, so I'm just gonna say something like, I have never had a project like this and I don't know what I would do. Obviously a terrible answer, so let's see what it has to say. Okay, it seems like it's a very nice interviewer. It actually gives us some feedback on what we should have answered, so that's pretty cool. The next use case is using DeepSeek for creative writing. And we sort of mentioned this already with the blog posts and social media, but DeepSeek is also extremely good at writing stories, poems, letters. And so let's do something like this. Write a short story about a robot discovering human emotions. Let's make it it under 200 words. Okay, so it's written this story about Unit 7, which is a maintenance robot. We could do the same thing with a poem, so you could have it write a haiku about a certain topic. So yeah, when it comes to text and text-based outputs, AI is extremely strong at this. And you can think anything with text, I can use AI to generate it. It'll save me a lot of time, give me a foundation, and I can of course put my own spin on the content. A lot of people think that robots and AI do not have the capacity to be creative, but actually the opposite is true. I've seen AI like DeepSeek and ChatGPT generate some really interesting stuff that I would never have thought about. So the last use case I want to talk about in this video is probably the one that's most suitable for DeepSeek. And of course, because it has that DeepThink reasoning model, it is very, very good at any task that requires analytical thinking, deep thinking, critical thinking, whatever it is. An example I want to show you is, let's say we can have solve a math problem. So I have a circle with a diameter of 7 centimeters. What is the area of the circle? If I were to double the circle's diameter, what would the new area be? So let's turn on DeepThink for this. Hopefully it works. Hopefully the servers are not down right now. Okay, unfortunately the servers are still busy, so I'm gonna turn off DeepThink, but I'm still gonna show you what it outputs for this answer. As you can see, it still gave us the whole process of how it came to this answer. So if we had DeepThink on, it'd be a little bit different in that the answer would be a little bit more concise, but we would be able to look through the reasoning and see what it is doing, the things it's doing to reevaluate. But even with it off, it can still do this. This is a very simple question, but if it was something a lot more complex, then that's where the R1 model would really shine. Yeah, essentially anything that requires a lot of analysis or critical thinking, anything with data or numbers, then DeepSeek is going to be extremely good at solving it. So at the start of this video, I mentioned that DeepSeek is open source, right? So it's something that you can actually download to your computer and use offline. Something like ChatGPT, it's always going to require an internet connection. You're always going to be using the cloud. But with DeepSeek, we can actually download the whole reasoning model to our computer and use it locally. Now, for most of you watching this video, just using it online is probably going to be okay. As you can see, sometimes these servers are down, so you cannot use the full capabilities. In that case, it would have been very useful to actually download the whole model to my computer. And yeah, I'm just going to show you guys how to do that right now. So probably the easiest way to do it is just by downloading Ollama. So just go to ollama.com. I'll have a link down below. I'm not going to go into this too much detail, but the model that you're going to want to use is DeepSeek R1 as of right now. If we click on this, we can see that there are multiple versions we can actually download. Depending on how much space and memory you have, some of these probably won't be possible. So for example, if you want to download the entire reasoning model with all the data, that's going to be this one. So 671 billion parameters. I think for most people, the 1.5, 7, or 8 billion parameters one is going to be okay. You don't need the entire model to get really good reasoning and answers. But of course, for the best one, you will want to have this one, but that takes up 404 gigabytes as of right now. Let's say I want to go with the 7B one. I can click on this. You just copy and paste this into terminal, and that's basically how you run it. Now, of course, the UI for something like this is really bad. That's why I prefer just to use deepseek.com. You can also use anything LLM or LM Studio. These are two different ways to run it locally on your computer, but with a better user interface. That's probably what I would recommend most people watching this video if you do need to run this on your computer only without internet. And then the other way to do it is actually just using something like Perplexity. It has this reasoning model built in. As of right now, you only get a limited number of R1 searches per day on the free Perplexity plan, but that does go away if you get the paid Perplexity plan. I will say Perplexity plus the DeepSeek reasoning model is like AI on steroids. It's going to research the stuff using Perplexity's model and then reason with that info. So to use this, all you have to do is come here, click on this reasoning R1 model, and all you have to do is type in your prompt or question and then click submit. So yeah, I didn't go over this in too much detail since I think for most people watching this video, the website is going to be perfect. As long as they can get their servers to be up more, then that's going to make it a lot better. Of course, you can always go to ChatGPT as a great alternative. Yeah, overall, AI is very powerful. It's always advancing. There's so much you can use AI like DeepSeek for on a day-to-day basis. I covered 15 different use cases, but there are a lot of other use cases you can use it for. But the thing I tell everyone is just sort of think of it as the smartest person in the world that knows everything. Someone that's willing to talk to you 24 hours a day, giving you instantaneous answers, being able to browse the web for you, having incredible reasoning skills. And if you had that type of person in front of you, what would you have them do, right? Because let's say it's free, they don't charge you anything. That's basically what DeepSeek is. How would you utilize this person's knowledge, skill, reasoning? And the answer is you can pretty much use it for anything. Hopefully that comes across in this video that there are unlimited use cases. And if you're watching this video, now you know exactly how to use DeepSeek. If you got some value from the video, make sure to hit that like button and also subscribe for more content just like this. I do a ton of videos about entrepreneurship, finances, tutorials just like this, and my whole goal is to help you live a financially successful life. Also share this with a friend if you haven't already. And if you have any questions, make sure to comment down below. We'll try to answer some, but maybe the community can help as well. Thank you so much for your time. I know this was a long video, but I do applaud you for staying until the end. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.